Imagine deciding to swap your cozy business lunch for a live hunt, armed with nothing but patience and a pair of sharp jaws. Plants, which we usually think of as the ultimate symbol of Zen-like calm, one day said a firm no to photosynthesis as their only source of energy. While their meadow neighbors politely soak up UV rays and minerals from the dirt, the Venus flytrap turned into a biological machine with zero patience. This wasn't just some botanical temper tantrum, it was a matter of survival. Living in the bogs of North and South Carolina is like trying to fill up on air at an expensive restaurant. The soil there is so starved of nitrogen that any self-respecting weed would have given up long ago. But our heroes took the path of radical dietary replacement. Instead of reaching their roots into the empty dirt, they learned to catch things that run, crawl, or buzz. The secret to their success is hidden in clever traps that snap shut faster than you can refresh your social media feed. Inside each leaf are highly sensitive hairs that act like a tripwire. One touch, and you're just a visitor. Two touches, and you're the main ingredient in a green dessert. 95. So why did evolution push them down this dark path? It all comes down to the math of energy. Sunlight gives them sugar, but to build the complex proteins and enzymes needed to survive in extreme conditions, they need nitrogen. And where do you get that when the ground around you is nothing but acidic sludge? That's right, from the body of a juicy insect. It's a premium fertilizer that lets them not just survive, but thrive where everything else just withers away. This shift to becoming a predator feels like a bold experiment by nature. It's as if the plant is saying, why wait for the soil to feed me when I can take what I want by force? Sure, it takes a massive amount of energy to build these complex mechanisms for catching and digesting prey. But the payoff is worth it. The flytrap becomes the apex predator of its tiny patch of dirt. This is evolution in reverse, moving from passive observation to active dominance. We're used to thinking of the plant world as quiet background scenery. But behind the curtain of this green theater, there's a thriller playing out. Every time that trap snaps shut, it's not an accident. 95. It's a cold, calculated move, perfected by millions of years of fighting to stay alive. Next time you look at a harmless flower on your windowsill, remember this. It might just be waiting for you to look away so it can rethink its diet. Now imagine what would happen if, one day, they decided there weren't enough insects left, and nature demanded something a little more substantial. Have you ever wondered why a flytrap doesn't get a stomach ulcer, even though its diet is full of hard shells and wings? Imagine a restaurant where, instead of a waiter, you're greeted by a sticky trap, and instead of silverware, you get an aggressive cocktail of acids. For this plant, a normal lunch is a biochemical thriller, where the victim gets turned into a nutritious soup right out in the open air. The Venus flytrap doesn't have teeth to chew its food, but it does have an arsenal that would make any chemical engineer jealous. As soon as the unlucky bug is clamped between the leaves, a timer starts. The plant doesn't rush. It waits for the victim to stop twitching, so it doesn't waste energy on useless struggling. It's a masterclass in resource management, basically the perfect business strategy. Once the prey goes completely still, the real magic begins. On the inside of the leaf release a wave of enzymes, surprisingly similar to our own digestive juices. And here is the ultimate secret to its success. The chitin exoskeleton of an insect is almost indestructible under normal conditions. But bathed in chitinases and proteases, it literally melts. This isn't magic, it's precise chemistry. The plant breaks down complex proteins into simple amino acids, which are easily absorbed right through the surface of the leaf. Essentially, the leaf acts as an external stomach powered by the sun. Interestingly, this whole process burns a massive amount of ATP, the universal energy currency of all living things. Because of this, the plant operates on a strict budget. If you try to trick the flower by dropping a piece of plastic inside, it will snap shut. But it will quickly realize there are no calories to be had, and it will open right back up with a disappointed botanical sigh. No wasted effort, just cold calculation. Evolution taught these green organisms how to survive in the poorest soils, where nitrogen is as rare as honesty in a commercial. And that is exactly why they are forced to hunt. The trapping mechanism itself is a marvel of engineering. Cells on the outside of the leaf instantly change their turgor pressure, bending the trap shut at lightning speed. It happens faster than you can blink. Inside, it forms a completely airtight chamber where the dissolving process takes place. Imagine a sealed container that generates its own acid to break down organic matter. It's not just a meal, it's a complete recycling facility. Even more impressively, the plant actually knows what it caught. Using those sensory hairs, it counts the physical stimuli. 1 touch is a mistake. 2 touches is the signal to attack. It's a literal neurobiological intelligence test, hardwired directly into plant DNA. Nature built the perfect hunter that doesn't need muscles, a brain, or even a real stomach. All it has is a windowsill, endless patience, and the ability to dissolve death just to stay alive. 95. But what happens if you mess with this perfect system? What if the predator becomes the prey in a world ruled by the laws of thermodynamics? The answer hides deep within cellular membranes, where every single atom fights for its place in the sun. We like to view plants as harmless decorations. But beneath that calm surface is a war zone where they don't take prisoners. They just digest them down to the last molecule. Have you ever wondered why trees in horror movies are always trying to eat someone? But in reality, even the most aggressive cactus is afraid of your cat? Our culture is obsessed with the idea of man-eating flora. Back in the late 19th century, newspapers hyped up the sensation of a giant Madagascar tree that supposedly devoured locals with its flexible tentacles. Readers back then believed it even more willingly than we believe UFO sightings today. And this was despite the fact that evidence for this man-eating tree was about as solid as a promise to lose weight in a week. In reality, botany is governed by the laws of physics, not Hollywood blockbusters. To digest a tourist, a plant would need enzymes capable of breaking down dense human protein structures. 95. Not to mention the unbelievable amount of energy required just to hold on to that kind of mass. Think about how much nitrogen a giant trunk would need just to snack on a wandering traveler once. Biologically, it's absurd. Massive size requires stability and a slow metabolism. But hunting is a sprint that demands explosive energy. A tree that decides to become a predator would go metabolically bankrupt long before it ever reached its first victim. The myth of killer vines lurking deep in the Amazon is just our classic fear of the unknown. The jungle feels dangerous because it's full of shadows, noise, and humidity. But the real threat there isn't a bloodthirsty ficus. It's just mosquitoes and bacteria. It is far more profitable for plants to befriend animals than to try and digest them. Pollination, seed dispersal, and forming symbiotic bonds with fungi are where the real evolutionary money is made. Why waste energy hunting when you can just offer a bird a sweet berry and have it scatter your seeds across the entire forest? It's incredibly more efficient than trying to catch a running meal that might fight back, or just chew right through your trap. 95. So, the next time you're walking through the woods, you can exhale. No vine is planning to turn you into a steak. The absolute worst a devious plant can do is leave you with a nasty scratch or a rash if you hug the wrong bush. Nature builds its empires on efficiency, not special effects. We project human cruelty onto plants, but their world operates on the cold logic of survival. And while you're busy worrying a tree might grab your leg, it's busy with much more important things, like absorbing carbon dioxide and fighting for a single ray of sunlight. The jungle isn't a gladiatorial arena. It's a highly complex engineering system where every leaf plays its part. And trust me, you are way too energy-intensive to be on the menu. When we look at predatory flora, we aren't just looking at a botanical freak of nature. We are looking at a mirror of our own ambitions. These plants are masters of survival in a world where resources are scarce and competition is ruthless. They teach us one ultimate lesson. If the ground beneath your feet turns into a lifeless desert, the only way to maintain the status quo is to radically change your strategy. We humans are also used to consuming everything in sight, never really thinking about the cost. But unlike the Flytrap, which only spends energy when absolutely necessary, we've turned consumption into an endless race. We are draining the planet much faster than it can ever recover. So what does this green herbarium of the future teach us? First and foremost, accountability. Carnivorous plants survived extreme conditions because they fit perfectly into their ecosystem. They don't destroy their environment, they use its flaws as fuel for growth. We, on the other hand, have crowned ourselves the kings of evolution, but we risk becoming victims of our own appetite. The climate shifts we are causing are changing the rules of the game for the entire planet. Things are drying up, natural habitats are vanishing, and fragile mechanisms refined over millions of years are now on the brink of collapse. Which brings up a terrifying question. If we keep changing the climate at this speed, will we find ourselves in a situation where nature rethinks its menu? Sure, a Venus flytrap probably won't decide to snack on a tourist anytime soon, but the metaphor still stands. Earth is a closed system, and every careless step throws off the balance. We like to think of ourselves as the masters of this house. But we forget that any guest can easily become part of the furniture if they cross the line. Today, the survival of these unique species depends entirely on our ability to hit the brakes. If we destroy the environment where they thrive, we won't just lose rare plants. We will lose the very lesson they were trying to teach us. The lesson that even the greatest hunter is doomed if it eats everything in sight, including the things that give it life. We are standing at a crossroads. We can either become wise gardeners, protecting the fragile complexity of our world, or we can go down in history as the species that couldn't pull its hands away from the levers of change in time. Carnivorous plants are our reminder of just how dangerous it is to play with fire when you are made of flesh and blood. The future isn't set in stone, but it definitely won't wait for us to finish our last meal on this planet. It's time to settle the bill, while the jaws of nature are still open.